Empires rarely trust loyalty that is inherited. Blood ties compete with thrones, land competes with law. In the Ottoman Empire, the solution was radical. If allegiance could not be guaranteed, it would be redesigned. The Devshirme system did not steal children because the Ottoman Empire was chaotic. It did so because inherited loyalty was unreliable. From the 14th century onward, Ottoman administrators developed a recruitment mechanism that bypassed the traditional aristocracy. Christian boys from the Balkans were taken from their families, converted to Islam, educated and trained for state service. Some became administrators. Some entered the palace bureaucracy. The most physically capable were funneled into the Janissary Corps, the empire's elite infantry. What appears at first glance as religious persecution was, structurally, an experiment in manufacturing allegiance. Empires face a recurring problem. Power delegated through local elites remains conditional. Provincial nobles have families, land, and independent interests. Their loyalty is negotiated. The Ottomans solved this by recruiting children who possessed none of those attachments inside the imperial system. Devshirme did not rely on bloodline. It disrupted it. The boys were typically between 8 and 16. They were selected for health and intelligence. After removal from their villages, they were transported to Anatolia, assigned to Turkish-speaking households and immersed in a new language, religion, and cultural framework. Conversion was mandatory for service in the imperial corps. Over time, original affiliations weakened, not erased uniformly, but subordinated to a new hierarchy of belonging. The system was coercive, but its severity was not identical in every region or generation. Some families resisted bitterly. Others, particularly in impoverished areas, recognized that recruitment could offer their sons mobility unavailable in village life. Devshirme functioned through pressure, but also through the promise of elevation. That duality made it durable. This process produced a paradox. The Janissaries, drawn from Christian families, became among the most fiercely loyal defenders of a Muslim sultan. That loyalty was not sentimental. It was structural. Having been detached from hereditary claims within the Ottoman political order, their advancement depended entirely on imperial favor. Status, income, and survival were linked to the center. The state became their primary patron. Unlike feudal armies built on noble retainers, the Janissaries were salaried professionals. They trained continuously, lived in barracks, and were initially forbidden to marry or engage in trade. This insulation was intentional. It prevented the formation of parallel loyalties. The corps functioned less like a tribal militia and more like a standing institution engineered for obedience. Religion was not incidental. Conversion marked a boundary between subject and servant, between ruled population and ruling instrument. The system did not simply train administrators, it integrated them into the religious legitimacy of the Ottoman state. Islam was both spiritual framework and political adhesive. Devshirme was therefore not purely administrative. It was confessional realignment serving imperial cohesion. The system extended beyond the military. Some recruits entered the Enderun Palace School, where they were educated in administration, languages, and court etiquette. Many rose to become grand viziers and provincial governors. The highest offices of the empire were often held by men who had been taken as children from conquered territories. Their ascent did not contradict their origin. It demonstrated the state's capacity to convert outsiders into instruments of central authority. What made Devshirme effective was not brutality alone. It was social reconfiguration. The boys were not enslaved in the conventional plantation sense. They were elevated, but only through the state. This created an inversion of grievance. Advancement confirmed dependence, yet the system contained limits. By the 17th century, the Janissaries acquired privileges, wealth, and eventually the right to marry. Recruitment shifted away from Devshirme toward hereditary entry. The corpse that had once been detached from society slowly reintegrated into it. With reintegration came factionalism. The institution designed to bypass elite capture became an elite itself. The same mechanism that manufactured loyalty began to erode it. Janissaries resisted reforms, interfered in politics, and deposed sultans. Their cohesion remained strong, but it was no longer directed exclusively upward. The empire dismantled the core violently in 1826 during the auspicious incident, recognizing that the engineered structure had inverted. Devshirme reveals a broader pattern. Empires often secure power not by trusting inherited identity, but by restructuring it. Loyalty built through controlled detachment can be intense because alternatives have been narrowed. But such systems must remain insulated to function. Once engineered elites accumulate independent networks, the original logic dissolves. The Ottoman Empire did not create Devshirme solely out of religious zeal nor solely out of cruelty. It created it to solve a structural problem: how to build a ruling class whose primary loyalty pointed toward the center. For centuries it worked. Its cost was not only removal, it was transformation.